friends, welcome back to my channel, Laura Elaine. Here I talk about homemaking, healthy living, urban homesteading, motherhood, and more. Today we're going to talk about how to make Beet Kvass. The first thing I want to talk about is the supplies that you will need to make Beet Kvass. So you need some Himalayan salt, you need some mason quart jars. If you have 1/2 gallon mason jar, then that will work. I don't have a 1/2 gallon, so I'm using 2 1-quart, which is equivalent to a 1/2 gallon. Some BPA-free lids. I'm using some kefir whey in this recipe. If you over-fermented kefir and you have whey and curds and you strained off some of the whey, making Beet Kvass is a great use for this whey. 1/4 cup measuring cup and a 1/2 tablespoon. If you are using a 1/2 gallon, then you'll need 1 tablespoon, but since I'm breaking it into 2 1-quart mason jars, I'm using a 1/2 tablespoon in each one. Cutting board, knife, and then your beets. Let's talk about your beets for a second. These might look a little strange to you. These are actually gold beets, and usually when you think of beets, they're the red kind. It doesn't matter, gold or red, either will work. The more important factor is that you select organic beets, if at all possible, because here's the reason why. You don't want to peel them. That actually helps with the fermentation process and creating more good bugs and more probiotics. So if you have to purchase beets that are not organic, then you will want to peel the skins off. But if you purchase organic beets, then you can leave the skins on them. So I've gone ahead and chopped the tops off and the little tails there. And I am going to wash these and then cut them into 1 to 2 inch pieces. I have 4 small to medium sized beets. If you can get 2 really big ones, this will work. Otherwise, 3 to 4 small to medium size will do the trick. So go ahead and wash those beets.
As you can see here, I've gone ahead and washed my beets and I'm beginning to cut them into 1 to 2 inch pieces. You don't want to cut them in any smaller of pieces or grate them because they might end up releasing too much juice, which in essence you would be creating a beet wine instead of Beet Kvass, because with the additional sugars that are being released, you'd be speeding up the fermentation process and producing alcohol instead of lactic acid. After the beets have been cut into pieces, I evenly distributed them between 1-quart jars. Next, I added 1/2 tablespoon of Himalayan salt to each 1-quart mason jar. Let's talk about salts for just a minute. You need to use either Himalayan salt or an unrefined sea salt. You can't just use regular table salt because you run the risk of interfering with the fermentation process because of the additives in your regular table salt. And you need the salt in this recipe because the salt is what actually draws out the water from the beets and helps produce the proper environment in which that good bacteria can thrive and the bad bacteria will not. Next, I add 1/4 cup of whey to each quart jar. The whey supplies lactobacilli, but you can't use dried whey or commercial concentrated whey for this. You can make Beet Kvass without using whey. The salt quantity might need to increase and the fermentation process will just take a little longer. This Beet Kvass will be done in 2 to 3 days, whereas if you don't use whey, the Beet Kvass will take at least a week to make. Then I fill each quart jar with filtered water, leaving 1 inch headspace at the top of the jar. Headspace just refers to the space between where the food or liquid ends and the very top of the jar. It's a common term used in canning, you might have heard it there. You should use filtered water for this because tap water also contains additives that might interfere with the fermentation process. Basically, you just want to try to use as good of quality of ingredients as you can. What you put in, you'll get out. Next, I tighten my BPA-free plastic lids on top of each jar. Making Beet Kvass is an anaerobic process, which means it's a process that does not require oxygen for lactofermentation to occur. And so you want to ensure that you have a lid that tightens securely onto whatever jar you're using. I'll link a couple of helpful websites below that also talk about Beet Kvass in case you want to do some additional reading.
And that's it. It's as easy as that. There are different variations of Beet Kvass. Not all Beet Kvass has whey added to it. And if you don't add the whey, then that certainly slows your fermentation process down. And then you would let this sit out at room temperature on your counter for about a week. Since we added the whey to this, that speeds up the fermentation process, and this will be done in 2 to 3 days. Once those 2 to 3 days are up, I should expect to see effervescent bubbles in this, and then I will move this to my refrigerator for about a week. That will help mellow the saltiness of the flavor, and generally most people prefer Beet Kvass after it has mellowed for a week, even 2 or 3 weeks. So basically what you're looking for, whether you have added the whey or not added the whey to this, you're looking for the color of this to change, but especially look for those effervescent bubbles and see that it is fermenting and it's working. And if you try this, leave me a comment down below and tell me how you liked it. Tell me at what stage you tried it. Leave me your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. Hope this was helpful to you guys. If it was, give me a thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell for notifications. That just lets you know when I put a new video out. I love to learn and I love to share what I'm learning with others. All right, that's all for this time. See you next time, friends. Hope this was helpful to you guys. If it was, give me a thumbs up down below. Give me a thumbs up down below. Give me a thumbs up down below. Thumbs up down below. There we go. Gotta work on that. Here I talk about, what do we talk about? Oh man, we talk about all sorts of things. I talk about homemaking, and I talk about healthy living. I talk about urban homesteading and motherhood and more. Yeah, okay, let's try again. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, Laura Elaine. I'm Laura Elaine. Now you already know that. First thing I want to talk about is, yeah, that's good grammar. Tell me if you've ever had Beet Kvass before. Raise your hand if you have. Okay, no.